good. I'm back.
Okay, good.
Three,
Let's go.
2, 1. Welcome back. We are doing card reviews and scoring, valuing all the cards and explaining why we do it, or how we do it rather, and why we do it. It's late. I'm saying words. I'm Advukta.
I am Merps, and we are on Rogue. So,
Ooh, Rogue. Okay, this is gonna perk me back up. So we are on Rogue, and Rogue is going to be the best class to play in Witchwood, because it will have the best Witchwood cards. And if you're playing Witchwood, sure, the Paladin will be very good with its old cards, and the Witchwood cards are okay, but you really want to play these powerful Witchwood cards. And who has the powerful Witchwood cards? Rogue does.
yeah. And before we look at the new cards, once again, we want to examine what cards are leaving, right? Because it's not just about the cards that they're getting. It's about like how powerful are the cards that they're losing. And for Rogue, if you look at everything they're losing from the past three, like from Old Gods, Karazhan, and MSG, they're losing very little. It's like, yeah, they're losing some pretty good cards. Shadow Strike, I think, is one that people look at. Undercity Huckster, right? Sort of a card that is kind of, very, very subtly winning games, right?
Yeah, how about that pirate that Undercity Hucksters without dying?
Yeah, exactly. So Swashbuckler, right? They lose that. They also lose like Shadowcaster, which has been getting like better and better, right? Because of all the death rattles and battle cries, and they also lose something like Lotus Assassin. But once again, you see them getting into the territory in which you're just like, oh yeah, those are good, but those aren't like, those aren't like Firelands Portal good. Those aren't like, like these are not staples of the road. Like you can have very successful decks that have nothing to do with any of the cards that I've just named, right? So they don't lose much, and that's always good, right? Because we talked about this with the Paladin as well. When you're not losing like anything of significant value, that just means your good cards in what remains will fill in that vacuum, and especially what's going to fill in that vacuum are these new really good cards.
Yup. And these new really good cards, we're going to start. So, again, Echo is wrong. Don't look at Pickpocket up there. Pickpocket is actually not that good. As our calculations are making clear. Let's start with Blink Fox. This is just 152, right? It's above my line of super premium, which was at 150, which means it's 1.5 times what a normal card should be. And you can kind of see why. It's a 3-mana 3/3, and then you get a card. That's right. It's a 3-mana 3/3 and you get a card. Not a 4-mana 3/3, which is how things used to work. But now, for some reason, it's a 3-mana 3/3. And so the score reflects that. Blizzard just decided to make this an insanely good card.
It's insanely good. Also, I have a feeling that the gold version will have very pretty, like you could just tell it's going to be a pretty gold card, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those cards in which it doesn't need a combo. It doesn't need synergy with anything. It's just really good. Not much to say about it. Like I think everyone can kind of identify the fact that like it's missing just one stat and you draw a card. Yeah.
Next up, we're just going. You're going to see a lot of these. There's a lot of good cards that rogues are getting. Curse Castaway, 6-mana 5/3 rush death rattle. Draw a combo card from your deck. So you don't use a card. You deal 5 damage for 6 mana. And you're guaranteed to draw a combo card, which means later on you can play it.
Yep, that's really good.
Yeah.
Also, when you're playing this as a top deck, or if you're just playing this like in the late turns, combo cards are usually very cheap. They're usually very cheap, so you're able to play this and then play the card that you draw like almost immediately, right? So another big benefit to Curse Castaway.
Then 136, still going on strong. Remember, these are the 138, 130. These are very good cards. This isn't like when we talk to you about like 125 and we're like, look, Hunter has this sort of hard removal that can get taunted. It's pretty good, even though it's not very Hunter-y. These are like, oh, this is way better than that, and it kind of does what the rogue wants to do anyway. Here's Miss Wraith. Miss Wraith is the card that works with Echo. Whenever it's a 4-mana 3/5, which is fine. And then whenever you play an Echo card, gain +1/+1. And
like what?
Yeah, that means if you have an Echo card, then you can play it on turn 5. This card is insane. Or if you play this card later on in the game and you follow it with an Echo card the next turn, or even on the same turn, right? Like, this card is insane. This card is just insane, because even if it just gets buffed once, it becomes a 4/6 for 4 mana. And it's an Echo card. That means you get it back in your hand and you can play it again the same turn for many, many times. So you do this, you like start pickpocketing, or you start cheap shotting, and it's game over.
It also just makes your Echo, because Echo is expensive.
Yes.
Right. But what it does is it makes Echo extremely efficient, because you essentially give up any sort of disadvantage that the Echo has with this card. You fill in that gap with all these stat bonuses.
The only downside is if you don't happen to have an Echo card in your hand.
Yes, that is true. But I mean, it's also why this thing is not like absolutely insane.
Like, this would be a 200 if there were more Echo cards.
Yeah.
This is a stupid card. Okay, slightly less stupid of a card. I really like this card. It's also very powerful. 126. Cheap shot. 2 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion. It just lets you split your damage however you want. By 2s. So the downside of this card is that you can only split it by 2s. So if there's odd health minions that you want to kill, you're going to be a little inefficient with it. But otherwise, like, especially if you have the board or something, you cheap shot everything your opponent puts out using equal amounts of mana on an even turn, and you go face, right? Like, if your opponent has a problem that you need to solve and answer, cheap shot can almost always answer it, even if it costs a lot.
Yep, definitely.
And cheap shot is 127. Okay, this one actually came out to be pretty much where it is right now. So those are the top level rogue cards, and we went through a couple, right? Those are 4 top level rogue cards, and then you still have another one that's going to be pretty good, which is Pickpocket. Pickpocket's going to end up at a 109, which is not anywhere near as high as it is here after we fix the bug, and it just draws you however many cards you need.
Yep.
Echo, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. Very flexible, great way to do card draw. But unfortunately, it is random cards, so there's no quality control on that. You're gonna get you're gonna get really random cards from your opponent's class, not necessarily good ones that they'd actually pick.
Yep. Okay, so those are the really good cards, and as you've seen, this is an expansion which doesn't have a lot of good cards, neutral or class. And here we have a class with like just an abundance of good cards, like premium cards. So when Adulta is predicting that Rogue is going to be good, yes, you know, it obviously depends on the buckets and everything, but I don't think Blizzard will put all of these in like the high buckets. You know, I think at least a couple of these will slip. And that's when you take advantage, right? As we've said, that's when you look at it and you're like, no, this card is so much better. And you know, if you listen to the Lightforge, that's when you look for, you know, the Bone Drakes, right? That's when you look for the cards that just like don't really belong in the tier that they are in.
Okay, moving on. Wanted, 4 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion. If that kills it, add a coin to your hand. It deals 3 damage. It's usually enough to kill something. Like, if you're dealing 3 damage to something, you usually don't do it in a way that wouldn't kill it, you know? And then you get the coin back, which means it's 4 mana, deal 4 damage with flexibility.
With delay, like, right, you're paying the cost now to get something later on.
Then you can always use it to trigger a combo or something. It's a decent card. 94. Not great, but definitely pickable. And it's a removal, so you can still have your removals as Rogue. Which, again, like, this is a very removal-heavy meta. And a removal heavy set, and you have cheap shot and you have wanted. Rogue is keeping up. Cutthroat Buccaneer. So here's a card that I think some people will think is very good, and I don't think
so. It's very interesting. Yeah.
It's a 3 mana 2/4, which again, reminder, it's not very good on turn 3. Combo: give your weapon +1 attack. You have to have a weapon out. So you may think turn 2 you dagger, turn 3 you play this, but you can't because it's combo. So you can't actually synergize it the way you want to, which is very annoying. So you're going to get this +1 attack on your weapon in the late game, which is not as useful. Your face probably already took a bunch of damage, and you may even have like it, not a full dagger or just other weapons. Like it gets a little awkward. And in the late game, what's a 2/4 doing for you?
Yep. So once again, I think a lot of people remember everything else that gave rogues +1 attack on their weapon. They remember Buccaneer. They remember Goblin Auto Barber, right? And they remember Naga Corsair, which was even a neutral. And then if you look at this is all sorts of awkward.
Yeah.
Like so awkward. Like Blizzard, like I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, Blizzard made this like the most awkward possible. With Buccaneer and Goblin Auto Barber, those were so easy to not disrupt your turn and just doing what you kind of want to do naturally, get the +1 attack, right? And Naga Corsair was a little bit more awkward, but it wasn't awkward at all, and you got the stats that you wanted. With this, it's like, man, how are you comboing this in the early turns, right? Are you coining? That means you're coining on 2. Like, isn't that when you dagger? It's super awkward, and yeah, like I see some people are like, oh, like if you backstab and do this, that's fine. It's like, yes. Okay, great. That's
if you have a 2-card combo and a backstab target.
Right. So once again, it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, you're telling me that a 2-card combo is good, and you can reap the synergistic
and one of the
benefit.
cards in your 2-card combo is
like
is one of the top cards in the game.
Like
it's literally the top card in Rogue right now. It's 185 in our rating system, same as Valspar.
No, but I mean, so with this, I think Blizzard did an amazing job of taking something and making it super awkward.
So don't get trapped by this card. It's definitely a below average card. Like that's the good part about putting in an algorithm. Like the algorithm is actually trying to play this card in a turn in which you have a dagger, and it's just not able to do it. Like if you go down the turn by turns from the algorithm, as it's like figuring this out, it's really pretty hilarious. It's like you just can't play this card and trigger the combo.
Yeah. All right. So that's Cutthroat Buccaneer.
And finally, we end with Spectral Cutlass, 4-mana 2/2 weapon. That seems slow. And then with Lifesteal, whenever you play a card from another class, gain +1 durability.
Woohoo!
We've gotten rid of a lot of the cards that actually give you cards from other class. Like you can't Burgle anymore. That Pirate is gone. The Undercity Huckster is gone. So you do have this Blink Fox. That's kind of it though. You also have a Hallucinate.
You have Pickpocket, but
right. Okay, you have Pickpocket,
and even then, it's sort of like, okay, I get extra durability, which is like, okay.
You need to buff this to make that extra. Like you said on the stream when they were doing the Bembro Day 9 like final card dump review, like what they do is they buff this card and then they make it gain durability every turn.
Right.
You're an arena deck. You're probably not doing that.
Nope. Not happening.
Yeah. So very bad card. If you could create a rogue deck that really heavily synergizes around this, great, but like so hard to do. Not an easy task.
Okay.
Legendaries. Rogue has interesting legendaries. Face Collector, which is not a 2/10 as it shows here because it's an Echo card, and we have the new Echo card numbers here. Face Collector is a 153. Still very, very good. Still premium, same as Anexia. And that's because every time this card echoes, you get a random legendary minion in your hand. So you can just like farm 3 legendary minions by playing this card on turn 9 and still get 6/6 worth of tempo on the board.
Yep. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's kind of insanely good. You can also play it earlier if you just need to, put it out and it's still fine. Like you don't need Echo on this card for it to be good. Echo makes it amazing and a premium.
Yep. So is this the actual score for Test Greymane? Because I was higher on this card.
No. You were higher on this card. I made sure that your score did not go through.
Thank you.
Because you're wrong.
How am I wrong?
You're wrong because you are completely not taking into account what I've said before, which is that there are not that many ways to get cards from other classes these days.
Okay.
That is what the algorithm is calculating very well.
Huh, okay.
So, replay every card from another class you play this game is usually 1. Like, you actually need this to combo with Pickpocket. or else it's not going to do much. And the battle cries are random targets.
Well, yeah, but if you play, if you play a
is.
minion, it just spawns the minion.
Sure, but you don't control it when you pickpocket what you're getting, and you're going to play all of them.
Right.
So, and remember, this is an 8 mana card with only a 6/6 body, so you need some stuff to really like make it work out.
Okay. All right. Well.
So again, it's not impossible for this guy. It's actually like you can synergize it very well, right? Let's say you drafted a
Pickpocket so this is a card, or 2. Yeah. You can see this card because you are going to sometimes get the triple blink fox and like pickpocket.
Yeah, deck, right. If you have the deck, this is great, right? It's a large synergy card,
right?
But the synergy chances is not very good overall. So that's why it's rated low. And even if it does synergize, there's a chance of this going very wrong.
There's a chance. I mean, the good thing is like it's not sort of like Yogg, in which it plays random spells, and spells are like crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you just summon a minion, it'll just resummon the minion, right? Like there's nothing random there, like for minions.
Okay, but you don't control what you resummon. You resummon all.
Right.
So that is it for Rogue. Like I said, it's a great class in this upcoming expansion. Not only does it have good cards, not only does it start off having pretty good cards, but it was kind of an average class in the last meta, so I don't think it's going to get micro adjusted down all that much. And on top of all that, it has a built-in turn 2 play in a meta of really horrible 2-drops and very over bucketed 2-drops. So Rogue is where it's at. I would not be surprised at all if Rogue is the highest win rate in the first week.
All right. Okay. Join us next video where we talk about Shaman.
Yeah. See you guys there. This is Adwicta. That's Merps. We are the Grinning Goats. Onward.